Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Sunday, March 1st, 2026. And I just have to be honest with you right off the bat. I spent the last 2 hours just completely doom scrolling.
Oh, yeah. You and the rest of the world, I think.
I mean, usually we come on here and we have a specific topic or a book or a paper, and we are ready to just nerd out. But looking at the news feeds this morning, it just feels different.
It does. It feels incredibly heavy.
It really is.
And I think we need to just name it right up front. We are looking at a world that feels like it is teetering on the edge of something we haven't seen in maybe 80 years.
Yeah.
The word chaos gets thrown around a lot in geopolitical analysis, usually to describe a trade dispute or a messy election cycle. But what we are seeing today, March 1st, 2026, is actual unadulterated chaos.
Exactly. We are talking about the situation in the Gulf. We are talking about the United States, Iran, Saudi Arabia.
The whole region.
It is a powder keg that didn't just spark, it has officially exploded, and the shrapnel is hitting everyone.
It really is. And usually our job here is to take a step back and look at long-term trends. Maybe calm everyone down with some historical context. But today, the immediacy of this conflict is undeniable.
You can't ignore it.
You really can't. The headlines in our source feeds aren't speculating about what might happen. They're literally screaming about what is happening right now.
Naval sinkings?
Yes.
Well,
Leadership vacuums in Tehran.
right.
A U.S. president who is doubling down on combat operations. It is just a terrifying time to be paying attention.
It is. And I want to get into the specifics of that fear in a moment, because we really have to acknowledge the reality on the ground.
Right.
And there is a massive but here, which is really why we are doing this specific deep dive today.
The weird part.
Exactly. In the middle of this terrifying global conflict, in the middle of all this smoke and fire, we found something from the sources that is truly bizarre.
Bizarre doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, it is absurd. It is paradoxical.
Yeah.
And yet it might actually be the smartest thing we have seen all year.
We are talking about a diplomatic breakthrough, if you can even call it that, coming from a player that usually ends up getting completely squeezed in these kinds of conflicts.
Right.
We are talking about Pakistan.
That is right. While the superpowers are literally shooting at each other, Pakistan has apparently decided to just reinvent the laws of physics, at least as they apply to foreign policy.
So we are diving into a primary source today. It is a blog post from the blog of a writer named Paramendra.
Okay.
And the post is titled Barackface, Pakistan's Invention of Quantum Foreign Policy.
And just the title alone tells you we're in for a ride. Barackface. Quantum foreign policy. It sounds like a total hallucination.
It does. And we are also going to be pulling from the peripheral sources surrounding this post.
The context.
Yeah, the chaotic ticker of news updates and YouTube video titles and sidebar links. They all paint this really grim picture of the world in March 2026.
Yeah.
Because to understand why this Pakistani move is so insane, you have to understand that context.
Context is everything here. You can't appreciate the punchline if you don't understand the setup. And the setup is essentially World War III.
So our mission today is simple but kind of mind-bending. We want to understand what the source calls Schrodinger's alliance.
Great name.
We want to figure out how one country managed to support everyone, oppose everyone, and confuse the entire world into a state of stunned silence. All without, as the source says, tearing a hole in the fabric of space-time.
It is a lesson in survival. In absurdity, and maybe, just maybe, in a totally new kind of genius that actually fits the 21st century.
Okay, so let's unpack this. But before we get to the quantum physics of diplomacy, we have to look at the fire. We have to look at Section 1, the context.
Right, because if we don't ground this in the reality of the danger, the humor just doesn't land. The stakes are existential.
Let's look at the fact pattern we are seeing in the source feeds. We have a headline here that honestly made my stomach drop.
Which one?
It says $13 billion USS Abraham Lincoln under fire. And then right below it, another one. 3 Americans dead, Pentagon in denial.
Yeah, let's just pause on that for a second. The USS Abraham Lincoln. This isn't a frigate. This isn't a little patrol boat. This is a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier.
For those of us who aren't naval experts, explain what that actually means. What is a Nimitz-class carrier?
It is essentially a floating city.
Wow.
It is 100,000 tons of American diplomacy. It carried thousands of sailors and dozens of aircraft. It cost $13 billion to build, but its symbolic value is just incalculable.
Right.
It represents the ultimate power projection of the United States. You park a carrier off someone's coast to say game over,
And now, according to the source feeds, it is under fire.
Exactly. For that ship to come under fire and for there to be confirmed American casualties, 3 dead. That changes the calculus completely. We haven't seen a carrier strike group take a direct hit like that in decades. It shatters that entire aura of invincibility.
And the headline, Pentagon in Denial, is really fascinating to me. Why would they deny it if there are casualties?
That is the fog of war meeting political preservation right there.
How so?
Well, if the Pentagon admits a carrier was hit and Americans died, the president essentially must respond with overwhelming force.
Oh, I see.
There is no off-ramp anymore. By denying it or downplaying it, the military establishment might be trying to buy some time. They might be trying to prevent an immediate escalation to nuclear options.
But the political leadership, they aren't buying time at all. We see President Trump is back in office in 2026, and looking at his statements in the source feed, he is leaning all the way in.
Right. We have a video title in the sources. Trump combat operations in Iran will continue until all objectives are achieved.
And another one right next to it. Trump says, more American casualties likely.
That is really heavy. Casualties likely. That is a leader preparing the public for a long and bloody grind.
It really is.
It suggests a full-scale commitment. This isn't just a punitive strike anymore. This is a massive campaign. And you have to wonder, what are those objectives? In a region, these volatile objectives have a way of shifting dramatically.
Speaking of shifting, let's look at the other side. The leadership situation in Iran seems, well, complete chaos. There is a headline here. Inside the secret CIA Israel operation that eliminated Khamenei.
Ayatollah Khamenei,
Yeah.
the supreme leader.
Go on.
That is a seismic shift. I really don't think we can overstate this. He has been the absolute center of gravity for the Iranian regime for decades.
Right.
To remove him specifically during a hot war with the United States, it creates a vacuum that sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
And the internal reaction there is totally fractured. We see sources saying Iranians celebrating worldwide, but then we see the IRGC issuing severe warnings.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Yes.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate danger zone. When you decapitate a regime, you don't necessarily get peace. You often get extreme chaos.
The source says the IRGC warns it is going to unleash the greatest offensive operation in Iran's history.
But the terrifying question is, who gives that order?
Right, because the supreme leader is gone.
Exactly. There is a Sky News Australia headline in our source stack that really spells it out. Iran's military operates on last known orders as command structure significantly disrupted.
Last known orders. That phrase gives me chills.
In military terms, that is a nightmare scenario. It means the central brain is dead, but the limbs are still thrashing around.
Wow.
A local commander sitting in a missile silo somewhere might have standing orders that say if the supreme leader is killed, launch everything.
And there is no one above him to stop it.
There is no one to pick up the red phone and say stand down.
Which explains why the conflict is spilling over so rapidly. The sources show reports of Iranian missile strikes targeting Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar.
Exactly. If you are a hardliner in the IRGC operating on last known orders, and you can't hit Washington, D.C., you hit the next best thing.
The allies.
You hit the American allies right next door. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. Yeah. They are all in the splash zone now.
And the economic volatility from all this is off the charts. We have a source simply titled Money Over History,
which is such a cynical but perfect summary of 2026.
And another headline says, Trump wants ceasefire clashing directly with war could last weeks.
Nobody knows what is happening.
Nobody. The markets are panicking. The oil prices must be going through the roof. Even though the source doesn't explicitly state the oil prices, you can just feel the economic panic in these headlines.
It is total unpredictability.
Yeah.
And in that kind of chaos, nations usually do one very specific thing.
What's that?
They pick a side. They hunker down behind a bigger power and just hope the storm passes over them.
So let's pause here and connect this directly to you listening right now. Put yourself in the shoes of a mid-sized power in this region. Let's say Pakistan.
Okay, I'm Pakistan. I have nuclear weapons, sure, but I also have a massive economic crisis, internal political instability, and a very, very dangerous neighborhood.
Right. You share a massive border with Iran, and Iran is currently lashing out, operating on those last known orders, and they are desperate for allies.
It is a bad spot to be in.
And on the other side, you have your historical economic partners, Saudi Arabia and the United States. The U.S. provides massive aid and military support. Saudi Arabia provides oil and huge loans.
It is an absolute nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
If I support Iran, the U.S. cuts my funding instantly and sanctions me back to the Stone Age. Maybe Saudi Arabia expels all my migrant workers.
Exactly.
But if I support the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, Well, Iran might just turn those missiles toward Islamabad, or they might activate proxies within my own borders to start a civil war.
It is a no-win situation. In traditional diplomacy, this is where you are forced to pick a side. You calculate who is actually going to win, probably the US-Saudi axis, and you stand behind them. Or you try to stay completely neutral and everyone ends up hating you for it.
Neutrality is usually seen as a massive weakness in a hot war. You are either with us or against us, as the old saying goes. If you stay silent, both sides suspect you of plotting against them.
But Pakistan looked at this binary choice, Team A or Team B, and they just said no.
You chose option C.
Which brings us to Section 2. The breakthrough. The quantum solution.
I have been waiting to get to this part. It is just so wild.
I have to read the official statement from the source. This is from the blog post dated today, March 1st, 2026. Pakistan releases an official statement regarding the massive conflict.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says Pakistan has said that it stands with Iran against the U.S. attack, while it stands with Saudi Arabia against the Iranian attack.
Stop. Just stop. Let that sink in for a second.
Pakistan has said that it stands with Iran against the U.S. attack, while it stands with Saudi Arabia against the Iranian attack.
I mean, it is grammatically correct. The sentence structure completely holds up.
It does.
But
logically, it is a complete paradox. It is total nonsense.
The source calls this Pakistan's invention of quantum foreign policy.
And I absolutely love that term. But let's break down the quantum part for the listeners who might not be physics majors. Why use the word quantum here?
Well, in classical physics, Newtonian physics, an object is in one place at one time. A switch is either on or off. You're either an ally or an enemy. That is the binary world we are entirely used to living in.
Right. It makes sense.
But in quantum mechanics, you have this core concept called superposition.
Okay.
A particle can actually be in multiple states at once. It can be spinning up and spinning down simultaneously until it is physically measured.
Oh, like the cat.
Yes, exactly. It is the famous Schrodinger's cat thought experiment. The cat in the box is both dead and alive until you open the box and look.
So in this geopolitical analogy, Pakistan is the cat.
Pakistan is the cat, and the box is the Middle East. And the statement is them basically saying, we are both your ally and your enemy. We are alive and dead, we support Iran, and we support Saudi Arabia.
But wait, isn't that just lying? I mean, let's be the skeptic here for a minute. Isn't that just pure duplicity?
A cynic would definitely call it duplicity. But a liar hides the truth. Pakistan isn't hiding anything here. That is the genius of it. They are broadcasting two completely contradictory truths loudly and publicly at the exact same time.
They aren't saying we are neutral.
No, not at all. Neutrality is passive. A neutral stance would be something like, we call for restraint on all sides, or we are monitoring this situation closely.
Which is what you usually hear.
Exactly, and that is weak. This is aggressive support. They are explicitly saying to Iran, we are with you, fight the power. And in the exact same breath saying to Saudi Arabia, we are with you, defend the kingdom.
The source actually describes this as Pakistan entering its multiverse era.
Which is such a brilliant way to put it, because in the multiverse, all possibilities exist at once. In one universe, Pakistan is Iran's loyal ally. In another parallel universe, it is Saudi Arabia's loyal ally.
And they're just doing both.
Pakistan has simply decided to live in both universes simultaneously.
The source says geopolitical physicists are still studying how this was achieved without tearing a hole in the fabric of space-time.
It really does challenge the fundamental axiom of international relations, which is that alliances are strictly exclusive. You cannot be allied with the attacker and the defender in the exact same battle.
It's like cheering for both the Red Sox and the Yankees in the same game.
Exactly. It breaks the brains.
So how does this actually work? Like, practically speaking, if you are a diplomat sitting in an office, how do you even type this up without your computer exploding?
Right.
That takes us to Section 3, the mechanics of Schrodinger's alliance.
Because it is one thing to say it in a press release. It is another entirely to make it a functional policy.
The source reveals the diplomatic template that was used here. It is almost like a Mad Libs for geopolitical chaos.
Let's hear the template.
Okay, it goes like this. We strongly support you against them. Also, we strongly support them against you.
Wow.
And then here is the really crucial caveat at the bottom of the template. Please do not compare notes.
Please do not compare notes. That right there is the load-bearing wall of the entire strategy.
But wait a second. In the age of the internet, in the age of 24-hour global news, everyone compares notes. The Iranians have social media. The Saudis have CNN. They can plainly see the public statement.
True. They can see it, but think about the psychology of the belligerents right at this exact moment.
Okay.
Iran's totally panicked. They are operating on last known orders. Saudi Arabia is literally under active missile fire.
Yeah.
Do they really have the cognitive bandwidth to parse the bizarre logic of Pakistan's statement?
Probably not. They are a bit distracted.
Pakistan is betting that the chaos actively works in their favor. They're betting that Iran hears the first half, we stand with Iran, and then they just stop listening.
And Saudi Arabia hears the second half, we stand with Saudi Arabia. And they stop listening.
It is confirmation bias weaponized on a national scale.
But here is where it gets really interesting in the source material. In this specific case, because the statement was so blatantly paradoxical, they actually did compare notes.
It did.
The source reports a rare moment of unity between Iran and Saudi Arabia. I mean, these two countries are literally launching missiles at each other. But they paused the war just long enough to send a joint message to Pakistan.
I just love this mental image so much.
Yeah.
The red hotline rings. Hey, did you see what Pakistan just said? What even is that?
And what was the joint message they sent back to Islamabad?
Thank you for standing up. Now please sit down.
Thank you for standing up. Now please sit down. That is just the perfect diplomatic response to pure absurdity.
It is?
It is like dealing with a drunk uncle at a wedding who is trying to give a really confusing toast. You just want him to sit down.
Precisely. It actively de-escalates the tension by introducing massive confusion.
The source actually breaks down the reaction of the diplomats in Tehran and Riyadh. It describes a very specific four-step process.
Okay, what are the steps?
Step 1, read statement.
Standard.
Step 2, blink slowly.
Processing the data.
Step 3, check if it is satire.
Which is a totally reasonable check in 2026. With deepfakes and AI text generation, you really never know.
Exactly. And then step 4, realize it is not.
And that is the exact moment of horror when you realize a nuclear-armed nation has just formally decided to embrace insanity as a strategic doctrine.
There's an analogy in the source that I think captures this dynamic perfectly. One regional analyst described the situation like this. It's like your friend promising to help you win a fight and then promising the other guy the exact same thing.
It is the ultimate hedging of bets. But think about the game theory behind this.
Let's get into that.
In game theory, you are always trying to predict your opponent's next move. If your opponent is rational, you can model them. You can predict them.
Right.
But if your opponent is totally irrational, or acting in this quantum state, you simply cannot model them.
So by being utterly confusing, Pakistan essentially makes itself immune to strategy.
Exactly. Think about it. If Iran attacks Pakistan, they're attacking their own quote-unquote ally. If Saudi Arabia attacks Pakistan, they're attacking their ally.
It creates a paradox.
It creates a logic loop that completely freezes the aggression. It is like an old computer crashing because you tried to divide by 0. Pakistan just divided by 0 on the world stage.
But surely the global press would call them out on this. I mean, you can't just say two completely opposite things and get away with it at a press conference. Someone in the room has to raise a hand and say, "Excuse me, this makes absolutely no sense."
Well, let's look at Section 4, the press conference, because they actually did try to explain it to the press. And honestly, the explanation might be even better than the original statement.
The source details a press conference where a Pakistani spokesperson was explicitly asked to clarify this impossible position. And their defense was, well, it's very unique.
I know what they say.
The spokesperson said, "We believe deeply in balance. If one side receives support, the other must receive equal and opposite support. It's basic Newtonian diplomacy."
Newtonian diplomacy. They are just totally doubling down on the physics metaphors now.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, every diplomatic support must have an equal and opposite diplomatic support.
It is almost poetic in a way. They are treating diplomacy like a closed physical system where energy absolutely must be conserved.
But they are entirely misapplying the physics, right? I mean, in real physics, if you apply equal and opposite forces to an object, what actually happens?
It doesn't move.
Net force 0. Static equilibrium.
Which honestly might be the exact point.
Oh, wow.
Think about it. If you support everyone equally, maybe nobody moves. Maybe the overarching goal isn't to help anyone win, but to create so much static equilibrium that the war just grinds to a halt.
That is a really fascinating take. You flood the zone with so much aggressive support for literally everyone that the conflict paralyzes itself because nobody can figure out who is actually on whose side.
It is peace through paralysis.
But the reality of that press conference was a bit more chaotic than just peace through paralysis. The source mentions a physical manifestation of this intense confusion. It says reporters attempted to press further, but the microphone began supporting both questions and answers, simultaneously causing a small paradox.
Okay, that is clearly a bit of metaphorical flourish from the author of the blog Paramendra.
Yeah, I assume the microphone didn't actually become sentient.
Right, but it illustrates the core point perfectly. When you aggressively break the binary logic of friend versus enemy, all the standard tools of communication start to break
A
down.
microphone is inherently designed to amplify one voice at a time. A press conference is designed to clarify one single truth. Quantum foreign policy violently rejects the idea of one truth.
It really connects to the broader theme of the post-truth world we always hear about. But usually post-truth just means lies and propaganda.
Right.
This is different. This is pan-truth. All truths are true simultaneously, even the ones that directly contradict each other.
This leads us directly to the codification of this bizarre strategy. The source calls it the please don't be mad at us doctrine.
Which, honestly, is the unspoken subtext of most foreign policy for smaller nations anyway. But Pakistan has just bravely said the quiet part out loud.
They have codified it into 5 core principles.
Yeah.
And I really want to run through these with you because I feel like these could apply to a lot of things in life, not just global geopolitics.
Let's hear the 5 principles.
Okay, principle number 1, always agree.
Very simple,
Mm.
very effective. Agreement is a powerful de-escalation tool. If someone is screaming at you and you just aggressively agree with them, they eventually run out of steam.
Principle number 2, never clarify.
This is crucial. Clarity is the ultimate enemy of this strategy. The moment you clarify anything, you collapse the wave function. You pick a side. Ambiguity is your only shield here. You have to keep the cat in the box.
Principle number 3, smile confidently.
Optics matter so much. If you look confused while you are saying contradictory things, people just think you were incompetent.
Right.
But if you smile very confidently while saying utter nonsense, people start to think you're playing 4D chess. They assume you must know something they don't.
Principle number 4, if confronted, say it was taken out of context.
The classic modern defense. Oh, you thought I meant I supported them. No,
Right.
no, you are missing the nuance, the broader context.
And finally, principle number 5, if still confronted, blame translation.
The absolute nuclear option of diplomacy. The nuance was simply lost in translation from Urdu to English.
It is unprovable.
Completely unprovable. It makes the questioner look slightly culturally insensitive, and it immediately shuts down the entire conversation.
So how does this doctrine apply to the rest of the world? The source mentions a rumor, and again, treat this with the appropriate grain of salt for 2026.
Always.
But the rumor is that the United Nations is actively considering adopting this model.
Imagine those UN statements. The UN is already widely known for being somewhat toothless, but this would be active, intentional toothlessness.
We condemn the invasion and also support it entirely.
We stand firmly for peace and enthusiastically back all wars equally.
We are neutral aggressively.
That phrase, neutral aggressively, it really sticks with me. Usually neutrality is a passive state. Switzerland is passive.
Right.
This is aggressive neutrality. It is neutrality weaponized specifically to confuse and disorient the aggressors.
It connects back so well to the chaos of the timeline we established earlier. Look at those headlines again. Trump says he is the least racist president. Pentagon in denial. Last known orders.
It is a mess.
The information ecosystem of 2026 is so fractured. It is so full of noise and blatant contradiction that aggressive neutrality actually fits right in perfectly.
It acts as camouflage. If the jungle is chaotic, you wear a chaotic pattern to blend in. If the world is crazy, you survive by being the craziest person in the room.
So let's talk about the ultimate outcome here. Section 6. Who won? Did anyone actually win from this?
Well, according to the source material, there was exactly one tangible result, one truly historic achievement.
Which was?
Iran and Saudi Arabia actually agreed on something. They agreed on the sentiment of bro what.
Shared confusion is a surprisingly powerful bonding agent.
It really is. If you and I are in a bitter fistfight, and suddenly a guy walks into the room wearing a clown suit reciting Shakespeare backwards,
We stop fighting.
we stop fighting to look at him. Pakistan became the clown in the room. And for a brief moment, the missile stopped flying just so everyone could look at the clown.
The source summarizes it nicely. It says, in an increasingly polarized world, perhaps Pakistan has found the ultimate solution. Support everyone, confuse everyone, offend no one, and somehow offend everyone just a little bit.
That last part is the real key. Offend everyone just a little bit.
Why is that the key?
Because if you offend one side a lot, they will bomb you. But if you offend everyone just a little bit, they just roll their eyes and ignore you. And being ignored in the middle of a hot war between the U.S. and Iran is quite literally the safest place to be.
It is survival by pure absurdity.
It is the diplomatic equivalent of throwing a stun grenade. Flashbang, massive confusion. And while everyone is rubbing their eyes, you just quietly sneak out the back door.
Now I want to pivot a bit. We have been talking a lot about the event itself, but we really need to talk about the observer. Section 7 deals with the mind behind this specific source material.
The blogger, Paramendra.
Yes. The blog itself is titled Barackface, and the subtitle of the blog is I was Barack Obama's first full-time volunteer in New York City.
Which is already a fascinatingly specific claim to fame. It roots the author in a very specific era of American optimism, 2008, the hope and change era.
Right. But now it is 2026.
Right.
The world is literally on fire. And when you look at the sidebar of this blog, when you look at the other things this person is actively writing about, it puts this whole quantum foreign policy idea into a very specific and weird context.
What else is sitting on the shelf there?
Okay, looking at the book section on the blog sidebar, we have one called Marketing Escape Velocity. We have Gen Z Kranti, which means revolution. We have Kalkism, the economic and spiritual blueprint. We have Jesus is back, who am I? And we have the technologies behind agentic AI.
That is an incredibly eclectic mix of topics.
It really is.
But let's break a couple of those down, because I honestly think they are the key to understanding why this specific author spotted this quantum trend before anyone else.
Let's start with agentic AI. We hear the term AI all the time, obviously. But what specifically is agentic AI?
So most AI we used in the past, like back in 2024, was primarily generative.
Right. You type a prompt, it gives you an image or text.
Exactly. It waits for you. It's a tool.
Hmm.
But agentic AI has actual agency. It acts on its own volition. It makes independent decisions, executes complex tasks, negotiates with other AIs, all without a human sitting there holding its hand.
So it is independent and autonomous.
Yes. And Paramendra is linking this mindset to foreign policy. Think about the connection there.
Yeah.
If you have agentic AI, you have systems acting on their own internal logic, often in ways humans cannot fully predict or even understand.
That sounds familiar.
Pakistan's foreign policy feels exactly like an agentic AI hallucination. It is following a logic system that makes perfect sense to it, but looks like complete, absolute nonsense to us on the outside.
And then right next to the AI stuff on the sidebar there is Kalkiism. What exactly is that?
It is a direct reference to Hindu eschatology. Kalki is the final avatar of the god Vishnu, who comes down to end the Kali Yuga, which is the current age of darkness and chaos.
So the source is mixing the end of the world spiritual prophecy with the rise of autonomous AI.
Exactly. It paints a picture of a mind that firmly believes we are in the end times, or at least a time of massive, unprecedented transition.
Right.
If you believe the old world is literally ending through Kalki, and a new alien intelligence is rising through agentic AI, then of course you believe that traditional linear diplomacy is dead.
You are looking for the weird stuff.
You are perfectly primed to see the absurdity of the old structures completely crumbling.
It suggests a mind that is constantly looking for non-linear connections. Someone who studies agentic AI and Jesus is back simultaneously is not thinking in straight logical lines. They are thinking in networks, in massive interconnected webs.
And quantum foreign policy is inherently a non-linear idea. It requires you to look at a strict binary situation like war, yes or no, and instead see a superposition. War, yes and no simultaneously.
It makes total sense that this specific observer would identify this specific bizarre phenomenon.
It really does. Like the source implies. The world of 2026 is simply not a world for linear thinkers anymore. It is a world exclusively for people who can handle the cognitive dissonance of the multiverse.
And if we look at the broader timeline established in Section 8, that multiverse feeling is everywhere. It is not just Pakistan acting strangely.
Let's revisit that news ticker from the source one last time. We glossed over some of the tech stuff earlier, but it is actually really important context.
What jumped out at you from the tech side?
Well, there's that headline.
Right.
Lenovo's latest wacky concepts include a laptop with a built-in portable monitor.
Okay, seemingly trivial compared to a global war. But why is it important?
Think about it symbolically. It is all about duality. Two screens, multitasking constantly. Even our basic hardware is desperately trying to do two things at once. We are totally obsessed with splitting our attention.
And then something much more serious right next to it. How talks between Anthropic and the defense dept fell apart.
Anthropic is a major AI player. The Defense Department is currently fighting a massive war. The fact that talks between them completely fell apart is huge.
Why is this so huge?
Because usually in a war of this scale, the government just conscripts the tech sector.
Right, like World War II.
Exactly. In World War II, Ford made tanks. In 2026, you would fully expect Anthropic to be making war algorithms for the Pentagon. But the talks fell apart.
What does that mean?
It heavily suggests that the AI sector, the agentic AI that Paramendra writes about, is actively resisting integration into the traditional war machine. Or perhaps the war machine is just too chaotic for the AI to even interface with.
Or maybe the AI simply calculated that the war is a totally losing proposition and just opted out entirely.
Which would be the ultimate agentic move. Just saying, I am not playing this game.
And look at the environmental context in the sidebar. Japan adopts new carbon reduction targets, energy plan to boost nuclear and renewables by 2040.
So Japan is planning for 2040. They are thinking 14 years ahead. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, they are literally thinking 14 minutes ahead.
Operating on last known orders.
That contrast is just heartbreaking. Japan is steadily building a carbon-neutral future with nuclear energy. The Gulf is rapidly destroying itself with kinetic energy.
It shows the massive split screen of our world right now. We are building the distant future and violently burning down the present simultaneously.
And the U.S.
The U.S. is caught in what the source calls the mist of empire. That is one of the book titles mentioned in the sidebar. Trump's default, the mist of empire.
It fits the current mood so perfectly. The mist of empire, it suggests a total loss of clarity. A former superpower that is just flailing around trying to find its way through a thick fog.
President Trump is claiming to be the, quote, least racist president while leading a war that is highly likely to inflame racial and religious tensions globally. The absolute disconnect between the rhetoric and the reality on the ground is absolute.
And that right there is exactly why Pakistan's bizarre move works so well.
How so?
In a world of deep mist where all clarity is completely gone, where AI talks are failing and military commands are broken, quantum foreign policy is the only strategy that actually matches the environment.
If the world is speaking absolute nonsense, you just speak absolute nonsense back.
Precisely. Pakistan isn't being an outlier here. They are simply holding up a giant mirror to the wildly chaotic information ecosystem of 2026. They're basically saying, you want to live in a world of alternative facts. Fine. Here are our alternative facts. We energetically support everyone.
It is the ultimate adaptation to a broken system.
It really is.
So bringing this all home, what is the grand takeaway here? We started this deep dive with a world literally on fire. March 1st, 2026.
A very grim picture.
The $13 billion USS Abraham Lincoln under direct fire. Ayatollah Khamenei assassinated. The IRGC operating blindly.
A truly incredibly dangerous moment in human history.
And in the middle of this intense heat, we saw traditional alliances completely failing. We saw that the old binary choice pick Team A or Team B was rapidly becoming a death trap for smaller nations.
And we saw Pakistan invent Schrodinger's alliance, aggressively supporting opposing sides simultaneously.
The brand new doctrine of aggressive neutrality.
Based entirely on the core principles of maximum confusion, smiling confidently, and absolutely never clarifying your position.
And the immediate result was a rare moment of stunned silence from the belligerents, a global bro heard around the world.
Which honestly, in a very weird way, bought everyone a few vital seconds of peace.
There is one final headline in the sidebar that I think really sums up the ultimate danger here perfectly. It is from a user called Netizen.
Okay.
The headline is the everything gets eaten scenario.
Very ominous.
Everything gets eaten. In a total global war, that is usually the inevitable outcome. Economies, ships, regimes, innocent people, everything gets eaten by the machine.
And perhaps the only way to actually survive a world where everything gets eaten is to forcibly make yourself indigestible.
Indigestible.
Yes, think about it. If you are a clear ally, you eventually get eaten by the enemy. If you are a clear enemy, you get eaten by the allies. But if you are, well, whatever Pakistan is right now, if you are a walking quantum paradox.
You just give everyone a massive stomachache.
Exactly. You make yourself far too confusing to easily consume. You actively take yourself off the menu by simply being on everyone's menu and no one's menu at the exact same time.
Wow, that is the real aha moment for me. Massive confusion as a legitimate biological survival mechanism.
It's a high-risk strategy,
Yeah.
but in 2026, low-risk options simply do not exist anymore.
So as we wrap up this very strange deep dive into the multiverse of foreign policy, I want to leave you, the listener, with a specific question, a provocative thought to really take with you into your week.
Let's hear the thought.
We all face intense conflicts in our lives. Maybe not geopolitical proxy wars, but brutal office politics, deep family feuds, massive disagreements. And usually we feel immense pressure to forcefully pick a side, to clearly clarify our stance, to be seen as principled.
Right, we naturally want to be clear and understood.
But I want to ask you this, in your own life or career, when might it actually be much smarter to use quantum diplomacy? When is it better to aggressively support two totally opposing ideas just to keep the peace? Is there a moment where utter confusion is actually the highest and most effective form of diplomacy?
Sometimes the absolute smartest thing you can possibly say is yes, both, and then just loudly blame the translation.
Blame the translation. I love it. Thank you for listening to the deep dive. We will see you all in the multiverse.
Stay safe out there, everyone.